Welcome to Access, thanks to Crypto.com. Matthew Lloyd and Damian Barrett with you. A big round 18 to recap. And Lordo, you're already looking forward to a massive match in round 19.
I am, Damo. 4:40 on Sunday at the Adelaide Oval. It's the Adelaide Crows versus the Gold Coast Suns. I want to look at the two captains who are inspiring their two teams, and also want to look at the Dogs and how they can recover from their season at the moment where they're sitting in ninth.
Lots of good stories, lots of bad stories. One of the bad stories was North Melbourne. Another bad season looming for them, and problems now with what could happen, expectedly today, with Tristan Xerri after this heavy and nasty hit on Tom Sparrow. This is the boardroom agenda for today, Lordo. The boardroom agenda goes to the match review office, and I just don't see a way in which Tristan Xerri is going to be playing in the next 3 weeks after this hit.
Oh, I'm with you. I think it's a 3-week sanction for Tristan Xerri, where it was just the way I'd describe it was reckless. It was absolutely reckless, where he swung his arm, and he might say it was accidental, but in saying that, you can't just throw your arm in that manner. And poor Tom Sparrows, he's not going to be playing for a number of weeks through that heavy concussion that he had. But you can't be doing that.
I don't think anyone thinks there's any malice attached to it, but that doesn't mean that he won't be suspended. And we have seen some issues this year. Connor Nash, one of those, who was suspended for 4 weeks for a relatively similar type of incident. We'll know by close of play today how many matches are by way of the sanction for him. Now, one of the very big winners out of the round, Lordo, were the Fremantle Dockers. They had arguably their best quarter of football and arguably their best win under Justin Longmuir's coaching in the 6 seasons with what they did in that final term against Hawthorn.
Yeah, to come back from 12 points down, you see at this play, a minute into that last quarter, and they played with an absolute edge that I haven't sort of seen consistently enough this year. So that the Hawks were panicked. The ball just lived in the front half of the Fremantle Dockers. So that's how you win big finals, where the ball just getting repeat entries. Voss has been playing with a real passion and
He
spark.
stood up, didn't he?
He did stand up. Big Darcy, your man, goes forward and kicks a big goal. And it was a huge win in the context of it. And we're going to talk about some of their big players who perform well.
We will. One of the players who only had 6 kicks, but 3 of them were goals, was Sam Switkowski. I loved what he did, and he led the way when it came to that final 30 minutes of football. He kicked the first of those 4 goals that they kicked in the last quarter, and then it just took off from there. Darcy, Tracy, Voss, and we're about to get to Andrew Brayshaw, but those numbers will be worrying for Sam Mitchell when he actually assesses what happened in this game.
Yeah, we want to talk about their midfield, which is an issue for Hawthorn. I just don't think they have enough. We're about to talk about Andrew Brayshaw and what an inspiration he is. Jago O'Meara spoke about him with us yesterday, saying he's the heart and soul of this team, Andrew Brayshaw. So it's just the honesty that he plays with. And you and I love Josh Dunkley. I think Dunkley to Brisbane is what Brayshaw is to the Fremantle Dockers, where you know what you get from him every single week. He just rarely plays a bad game, Andrew Brayshaw. And
he was already had performed well to 3/4 time, didn't he? But then his leadership kicked in that last quarter. And again, it was almost fitting, wasn't it, that this knock here from his teammate in Luke Jackson bloodied him as he was celebrating the victory and revving the fans up. It was in the context of the season, Lordo, and in the context, I think, of Justin Longmuir's coaching, potentially a defining moment, that 30 minutes.
Yeah, it was huge, but they've got to play Collingwood this week in Melbourne. So can they back it up? And even if they don't win, but can they run Collingwood right to the end? Because they're going to be nasty after losing on the weekend. But I look at Brayshaw and how good he is, 14 tackles, nearly 30 possessions. But this is the biggest weakness for Hawthorn, is that Ward hasn't really come on. McKenzie subbed out of the game. Warple's a great trier. But
John Newcomb's right up there, but he needs some help.
Yeah, that's right. I think after Newcomb, I think they lack a little bit. Will Days, who's been out, is so important to them, as we all know. But is that where they're falling short? I think that's probably where it is.
It could be. Round 20 is the return date for Will Day. I think if they get him back to something like what he was before he was injured, Lotto, I think it's still game on for them. But another player for the Dockers, Lotto, who I thought stood up big time with the maturity, was Josh Tracy. It wasn't necessarily hitting the scoreboard in this game, but it was down the line in key stages. He did hit the scoreboard in the last quarter, but these are becoming important marks for this club, the way he can assert himself on the game in these moments.
Yeah, he has a will to win as well, Tracy. Loves the big moment, big stage. I love Murphy Reid as well, what he's doing for the Fremantle Dockers. And this is the inspired choice from the Fremantle recruiting staff, where you look at all the blokes dominating football at the moment. but they're, aside from Logan Morris, they're all taken in the top 20. And so he was taken through a COVID period where he hadn't played a lot of footy, but the Dockers saw enough in him to take him pick 7 in a rookie draft, and he's now in the top 5 forwards in the game.
It's a great storyline, isn't it? Yeah. Look, I just take a look at the Hawks' run home now with what's left in the remaining 6 games, and they are arguably vulnerable after that loss to the Dockers. There's some tough matchups on that list.
Yeah, got to win their next 2. Must beat Port Adelaide and Carlton, and then set themselves up for a really tough month. Probably the toughest month of any side in the run into September.
Yep. Another club that's left themselves vulnerable out of round 18 at least is the Western Bulldogs. Now, Adelaide was another big winner alongside Fremantle from its win against the Bulldogs, but they were exposed again down back, Lordo. And I just want you to pull apart what happened here. It's a celebration as we look at what Tex Walker and Rolly Thilthorpe and Darcy Fogarty did, and Curtin adding his name to that big line mix. But why is it that everyone on the outside, including other teams, wonder why Luke Beveridge will not select a third tall to help O'Donnell and Lobb? And it happens every week, and they're exposed again in this space.
The problem with these clips too are that defenders are one-on-one. So there's no players coming over the top. And look, the 5-goal hauls and 4 goals to Logan Morris and Chol, where this has just gone on, and particularly the last 3 weeks where Heaney's kicked 5, Larkey's kicked 5 and Thilthorpe's kicked 6, and then you had the other forwards in Fogarty looking good as well. Shannon Neal and Cameron kicked 11 between them.
Is it a stubbornness that he won't add one of Jones or Karmas or Gardner?
It's been situational
or Bustlington
with those. Gardner had a shocker when he came back in. Bustlinger, they mustn't think he's ready. Jones has been unfit. But I think it's more than the individuals, Damo. They have to have their midfield work harder to get back and support in the air. We saw, like, on the weekend, Joshy Worrell and guys like that were undersized, but their backs, Riley O'Brien was getting in the way the whole time. So I think Tim English needs to get back and support more.
Yep.
Bontempelli is a big midfielder, needs to get back and support more. So as a team, they need to defend the ground better.
Butts went down in that game too, adding to the Crows' woes, but they managed to cover for him, and he spent a second night in a Melbourne hospital last night, worrying times with his punctured lung out of that game. A player who doesn't want headlines for the Crows, Lord, he didn't want headlines when he played for Melbourne, Alex Neil-Bullen. Let's take a look at the role that he's played in his first year as a Crow, because he's more than a link man, isn't he? He's become a leader, and he's central to all this ball movement.
Matthew Nicks would love him. So he never gets raised too much, so it's great that we're doing it here this morning, but he just never gets spoken about. He's a coach's dream because he works up and back. I love Darcy Jones from the Giants for that reason. He just gets up and back, and Neil-Bullen's like a link man for Matthew Nicks and the Adelaide Crows, and he's got a huge work rate, one of the biggest work rates for a forward you've seen. But
that rundown tackle there, it was almost impossible to catch.
And they've got Ben Keys as well, so they've got 2 guys who do similar things.
Okay, now let's compare the pair, Lordo, because I think it's timely that these 2 clubs, the Adelaide Crows and Gold Coast Suns, play each other, as you have already mooted, on Sunday in round 19. And the 28-year-old Jordan Dawson against the now 4-year-old, 23 when he was named captain, Noah Anderson. These 2 guys are setting the scene for their clubs this year. They're both effectively top 4 right now. Crows officially, and with the weighted ladder of the Gold Coast Suns, they too are top 4 as we speak.
And they do it very differently. So Dawson is phenomenal in the air, whereas Anderson's more dynamic around clearance and stoppage. The goal we saw, which killed Collingwood on the weekend, or beat Collingwood on the weekend. But let's look at Dawson first and what he does. And I just love his aerial nature. He's tougher than most people give him credit for, but he's got the lethal left foot, Damo, and so 440. I'd love to see them go head-to-head, these two captains. Whoever, it's a top 4 clash. They're pretty much both in the top 4, with the Gold Coast Suns having a game in hand, but what a player he has become for the Adelaide Crows. They gave him the captaincy pretty much from the moment he walked through the door, didn't they?
Look at this goal too, when they needed it,
Yeah, so as I said, he's clean below his knees. He's so good in the air. He's brilliant. But I think Noah Anderson is more powerful out of a stoppage and more dynamic. So he's not as good in the air, but it's moments like this where he just, as I said, he's as good a clearance player in the game.
And the score here, Lordo, you can, that first passage of play, when they needed him to step up, he did.
And he's a goal kicker. So there's a lot of midfielders who can go through the competition and don't kick more than a handful of goals throughout a whole season, whereas Noah Anderson does that. I even showed last week where he pulled up Mac Andrews. So he's even saying, getting guys as a 24-year-old captain to say, pull your head in, and then this was unbelievable in what he did in the context of the Sun season. When they were up against it, had no field position whatsoever, and that moment won them the game.
So 23 years old when he was named captain, is now turned 24. He's almost as good a leader as there is in the competition this year.
Yeah, I would have no issues with him being the All-Australian captain, and what an effort to do that at 24 years of age.
Yep. The Swans, Lotto, had a grinding win against the Saints, and it was their senior players that stood up big time. And one of the semi-lesser lights, he's got a profile, but Will Hayward is not one you immediately go to. But I thought he was really good, Lotto, in key moments, and he found himself down the ground when it got late and got hard late.
It's because he's so smart. Dean Cox, he pushed him behind the ball late, when they were hanging on to that lead. So 3 goals, 7 marks. He's a real barometer for the Sydney Swans. When he's quiet, often the Sydney Swans lose, but when he is up and about, he's dangerous, Will Hayward. So he's someone that's been very good for the Swans for a long, long period of time, but was very important yesterday.
Yeah, and this game also marred by another concussion and head issue with Tom McCartan in the last quarter when he went down, Lordo, and he will be missing again some football. He's missed 13 games in the past 2 years for the same reasons. There was an element of experimentation with Collingwood against the Gold Coast on Friday night, Lordo. They left some players out, as they're going to do, and they also started Scott Pendlebury as a sub. But I think, crucially, they found, in your eyes, someone who's the subject of your bold call for Crypto.com this week.
Yeah, Damo, my crypto bold call for the week is the first half couldn't have been any worse for Collingwood, and they had to go back to the drawing board and try some things. And out of trying something, I think that Collingwood have uncovered a top 5 midfielder in the game for the rest of his time in the career. So, say for his next 5-6 years of his career, why can't he be a top 5 midfielder in the game? Who has 16 disposals and 6 score involvements in one quarter? No one does, or a rare player
Maybe
does.
his brother.
Maybe his brother. So I thought what he showed, and it's his poise and his class, don't have him off half-back where he kicks it into the centre. Have him centre forward, because of every disposal he makes something happen and he kicks goals. So I think they have enough in Dan Houston, Isaac Quaynor, Braden Maynard to cover him. So it doesn't have to be permanent, but they would be wasting, as I said, a top 5 midfielder in the game with what I saw by leaving him at half-back permanently.
He's got some layers, doesn't he? Because he's a best and fairest winner in a premiership year, effectively as a wingman. Yes. He's now established himself as an All-Australian half-back, and now you're saying he's top 5 midfielder in the game.
Yeah. And as I said, sometimes it takes it. Like Jordan Dawson was a wingman early in his career, and it takes something to happen or another club to give you that opportunity. But what I saw, it was phenomenal.
Yep.
Absolutely phenomenal.
Now, Josh Stanley of the Reece Stanley, I should say, of the Cats, Lotto, he's always the subject and the target when they lose, as they did against GWS. And is it a problem for them as they move into the final stages of 2025?
Yeah, he had a poor game. Briggs hasn't had the best season either, but Briggs got a hold of him. And you look at these numbers: Reece Stanley 6 disposals versus Briggs 14, 27 to 19, hit out 6 clearances to 2. He didn't have a great game, and I must admit, I raise him every couple of years. And is he good enough for Geelong to take in as a ruckman up against Darcy Cameron, Witts, Lloyd Meek, Luke Jackson, Sean Darcy? Can they take him? And Mark Lixards is often the player that has to get him out of trouble, which they were trying on the weekend. So, yeah, it's a lot going to fall onto Reece heading into August and September again. Yep.
Brisbane Lions going way back to Thursday, Lord. A big win against the Blues, and they did it in a gritty way, not necessarily the way they normally play football with tackles.
Yeah, the tackles, Tamo, I want to show you just how good this was, because last week, Chris Fagan, I could see how disappointed he was after that Port Adelaide game, that their pressure just wasn't there. Even though they won, they conceded 90-plus points. This was a different Brisbane Lions side. So I think there's no doubt there was a big focus during the week that our pressure just isn't good enough. And to a man, their pressure was off the charts right from the first bounce. Carlton brought on a lot of this pressure themselves, but look at the numbers. So 35 tackles, inside 50, they went from 2 tackles to 20, and then across the board, 35 tackles to 69. As I said,
it's finals type footy, isn't it?
It is finals type footy.
Albeit against a non-finals participant.
Yeah, Charlie Cameron from behind. Again, no awareness from a young Carlton player there, but I still think they'll be there on grand final day. And they are a scary, scary proposition, the Brisbane Lions.
Well, one club that won't be there on grand final day, Lordo, yet again. Now they're down the bottom of the ladder yet again is North Melbourne. Lost to Melbourne yesterday, and their coach Alistair Clarkson is the subject today of our coach speak, and it's same old Clarko.
We beat them, I felt, in general play and the inside 50s and the opportunities that we had, but we just didn't find that money kick, you know, the one that actually gets us a mark inside 50 or the shot at goal that allows you to get a little bit of momentum and some scoreboard ascendancy. And we're pleased with the way the game looked in the first half, but it just became a little bit more open and ping pong footy in the second half. And our young side was just unable to sustain it against a more experienced and polished Melbourne outfit.
Surely, Lordo, we're over that narrative that they're a young side and we don't find the money kick as a club. Isn't that what he's there to fix and rectify? And isn't this, in his third year, something that should have been well and truly fixed by now?
Yeah, I think so. But I lose Larkey, lose Davies-Uniacke, and they sort of looked at far lesser sides. So just they were exposed.
They've had those players for the whole year, most of the year, and they've only won 4 games.
That's right.
And Melbourne was without Stephen May, so that negates the Larkey.
Yeah, but I just thought that they weren't, when they were in the face of Carlton, and we lauded them for that. But then again, it's not there the week after, and they bounced back up. Yeah, I agree. I would have thought that Clarko could have brought a far greater consistency to this group.
5 consecutive seasons of either last or second last, and this year will be at best 4th last, and they've already traded away their first round pick. There was some, I suppose, green shoot when it came to an assessment of the game.
Yeah, it was Cooper Harvey, and you could see that he knows how to play the game. So 5 games he's had, and there was a lot of North talk going on. He deserves to stay on the list next year. What I saw yesterday is that this is a player who, there's a lot of athletes in our game who don't understand the game. He just knows the game. He's
footy smart.
He's footy smart. So his dad was one of the smartest players the game has ever seen, because he was small, but he just knew how to run, knew how to work space. Some of his timing of leads, no other North Melbourne players don't know how to do that. So his timing, his finishing skills.
He's compact.
Yeah, he's compact. I hope he can
good.
play 150, 200 games of footy, what I saw yesterday with that form. He's been behind 2 good players in Curtis and also Zerha, but there could be room for 3 of them with what I saw yesterday.
Plays slightly taller than his actual physique suggests. Lordo, the learnings, as we always do on Access out of round 18. What do you want to start?
I'll start with Gawn the boss. So he secured his 8th All-Australian, I think, with the dominance of Xerri. If he can stay fit for the rest of the year. It's a grand final this week for the West Coast Eagles. They play Richmond. It gets demoralising when you win 1 win for a season. This is their last chance, I think, to win a game, and they need to beat them in Perth this week. And Nick Martin continued the horror show for the Bombers. So how devastating for him.
This was the moment where his season not only ended there, but also most of next season was already ruined. An ACL being confirmed by the football club over the weekend from that moment.
Just shattering. So shattering on the field, shattering off the field. As you said, losing him for all of next year. 4 ACLs at the club. He's their second best player, so just a huge loss heading into next season. And strategy on track. I think they're leapfrogging Richmond, a lot of clubs, because of the quality that they got in. They got in at a strong draft, letting all those players go and launching with high-quality kids in the top 20. I think they're going to leapfrog a lot of clubs now.
Yep. I've got Tom de Koning D-Day. They need to clear the air, at least internally, just to get an answer from him and then work out whether he continues to play or he doesn't. But it's not good what's happening to him and the club with how his past month has dropped off a cliff. Strings attached. Jake Stringer, 4 goals against Aaron Cadman, 6 for the Giants. He is looming and emerging as the key player for them as they go into finals. The Saints, they just keep losing. They've lost 11 of their past 13 matches, Lordo, and they're okay against the Swans, but they don't win. And the power, Lordo, they've got matches against 5 finals-bound teams in their remaining 6 games. They will shape how that final 8 looks. Yeah,
they're a dangerous side. Didn't have their best day yesterday, found a way to win, but yeah, they are super dangerous.
Now, I got 7 out of the 9 matches of the weekend when it came to the Crypto.com tipping for round 18. Lordo, made a couple up on you. I'm coming for you, but I'm still in 8th, and Michael Whiting's still in front nicely, despite only getting 5 himself out of the weekend. Thank you for watching Access for Crypto.com. We'll be back next Monday to look at a big round 19.